First of all, I still got to get over you firing 9 people over Loom videos. That's like unheard of.
We had both of our leadership teams from both companies here. And I'll never forget being on our counter and he said, you should shut it down. You should shut down the flipping business. So we made a decision not to do that. Now I had to lay off half the staff last year. I made videos for everybody. They were all very well thought out. I did them all. And at 9 o'clock at night, I hit send and they all went, doosh. I realized that if you don't have the right people, you've got nothing. Right. I don't care how good you are at flipping land or flipping houses or educating people or whatever. We could be the best at it. If we're going to try and scale, we will not do it alone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Jack Boss Show. Today, we have Glenn and Amber Schworm here with us. In business for 30 years already, flipping houses for, 20, 30 years. Been featured on HGTV, ABC, CBS, Fox. Started with $80 in credit card debt and no money, and now have done over $100 million in house flips. Hey, guys, and most importantly, just like Michelle and I, they work together as a couple. So we're going to cover all of that. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Jack.
We're good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is going to be fun today.
All right. Yes, it's going fun. So, well, you know what? Let's just jump into the one thing that makes you guys separate from everyone else. Real estate is a bro game out there. And most of the guys, you go into any kind of real estate room, it's all a bunch of buff guys with like beards and bald heads and things. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit. And they're like, yo, bro, what's going on? And there's you guys, like married couple, doing this for many, many years together. And so how do you guys navigate this world and how do you guys do business together?
Yeah, it's quite true, though. We do go to a mastermind and I'm like one of 5 women in the whole room. It is all guys.
Yeah. Yeah. We drink a lot, Jack. That's what it boils to. So no, we had to figure out early in our career. You know, when we first started flipping houses, it was rough. We were both going through divorces from our spouses. We were living in a 2-bedroom sweatbox condo. We had 2 kids that were in sports and we're flipping houses, had no idea what we were doing and trying to figure it out.
So like we had very opposite of traditional roles when we first started. Glenn did all the like buying and selling and negotiating and deal chasing and that sort of thing. And I did the project management. I was working with the contractors and hiring and firing and doing scopes of work and in the field more. And it was inevitable, like in, 15, 16 years ago, I was, and this has changed over time, but I was literally a woman in a man's world.
Well, like Jack said, it's been a boys' world for a long time.
It has, but we would go into a house together and they would always look at him. Like, what do we do? You're the boss. What do we do? And he was always very good about saying, you're looking at the wrong person. You need to be asking her that question.
It was probably good that I didn't know. I didn't really know an answer, so I'd be like, I don't know. Why are you talking to me?
Absolutely. We find the same thing. We go into a room and I mean, it's still not entirely better because we've gone we do also multifamily. We've gone to a multifamily mastermind and one of the guys that checks us in, and Michelle is the CEO of our multifamily division, right? So she checks us in and he's like, oh, Jack Bosch. Okay, great. And, oh, Michelle, so you're coming along too. You're using the spa and so on. And she's just about like pulled him over and punched him in the face. I mean, she didn't, yeah. but almost, because it's like it's that immediate assumption that the lady comes along or something like that.
Yeah.
Which there's still a long way. There's some progress we've made, and you guys are a perfect example of that. But we're the exact same way, and we have to fight that every day. So
yeah.
So kudos to you for saying like, hey, no, you're talking to the wrong person. And I tried to do that too in certain areas. And in other areas where I'm the one to talk to, then they talk to me. That's just perfectly fine. I really like what you mentioned also about the roles. So did the roles stay like that or the roles reverse now?
Well, we're kind of removed from our day-to-day business. That business still operates in upstate New York, and we live down in Florida now. So we're removed from the day-to-day. We're more in the owner's seat, which is really, really great.
We're not there yet. We're getting close to the owner's seat. We're halfway to the owner's seat. In that company, yeah.
So those roles stayed the same though as time went on.
I would say they're still the same in that we are having our home renovated down here. And so the whole time that happened down here, they go, hey, Glenn. And after about the 3rd time, me going, I don't know why you keep asking me. I ask her. she's the boss. I don't know what to say. And then pretty soon they're like, hey, Glenn. And then I heard some of the workers say, don't ask him. He doesn't know anything. I'd smile. I'd go out and walk the dog, go on the dock in the backyard or whatever. I just got to laugh and go, whatever. I don't want to know. I don't want all the responsibility. I have enough at my other jobs. So,
you know, what's funny though, is I also found that some of that was not just the other people. A lot of that perception was who I was at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't probably as confident as I needed to be. I wasn't authoritative enough. So like as life happens and you gain that life experience and that confidence that comes with it. And I tell my kids, things are only offensive if you choose to take offense at them. So like I could be really offended if somebody like looks to him or whatever. And anymore, I'm just like, whatever, you know, I'll just prove myself. And so I choose not to be offended by it. So then I don't, you know, live in that place of, oh, I'm the woman and they're discounting me automatically. Cause I don't want to live there in my head. Like, I'm just like, all right, I'll set the record straight right now. I'm in charge. You need to talk to me. And that changes the dynamic as well.
Yeah. Now, do you find, particularly for you, Amber, do you find, or both of you guys, do you find that when you have to exert yourself, or express yourself, or just like be there, it's like, no, I'm the authority, like, listen to me. And basically you have to step into this alpha role.
It's funny that you mentioned this because I've actually seen some posts on this recently. There's this one girl in particular that's like, well, you know, if the guy's not going to wear the pants, I'm going to. And I know that's not exactly what you're saying, but I find, and I think this has only come with maybe age, you know, you get that wisdom as you get older. I find that I don't have to go into my masculine or go into that alpha place. I'm just me.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I was thinking the same thing while he was talking. Yeah.
So I think that there's women that think that they have to go into that place in themselves. But I think the more just comfortable you can be with yourself, it just you kind of like let life flow a little more and you're not so easily bothered by everything. Now, in our house, I would definitely say that Glenn is the head of our house, but I am the neck that turns the head.
Yeah, you got that right.
Of course, that is 100%.
No question about that. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm the head of the household or not. I think she lets me think I'm the head of the household every now and again, Jack, every now and again. So,
and that's very normal. And I think that's how it is. Let's keep it at that. Let's not go deeper into that one. That's how it is. I think Michelle, same thing. I was like, I know certain things. I just make sure that or a lot of things are like, hey, Michelle, I'm planning to do this. You think that's the right direction? And then if she says no, we're not going that direction because obviously, do I want to be right or happy? It's exactly the kind of thing.
Jack, I have to
and the other way around too, of course.
I find I have to turn. I probably have to turn. Sometimes if I'm in one of those modes where I'm get it done, I'm sure you have those modes where you're just getting stuff done. And sometimes when I'm doing that, I got to remember when I come home, and actually we work from home now because we have offices, but we don't go to them. And so it's, I have to remember that I'm dealing with my family and I have to turn that part of me off because they don't care. You know, they don't care who I am. You know, they don't care what I'm trying to accomplish. They're our kids and that's my wife and all that stuff and my mom and all that. There's all that relationship. They got to remember. I think that's where I think I have to probably tone it down. Probably more than you do.
That's actually a really good point because I can remember in the past like feeling like that, like I am not your employee. you know, like
that doesn't go over so well. That doesn't really ever play out well for any of us. So.
That's true. So great. So we started it with this thing just because it's so rare to see a couple to do this in business. It's not so rare anymore, but it's still in the great scope of things that were really rare. So I wanted to jump into that. But let's quickly give our audience here let's just talk about what do you guys actually do. So you're in the single family home world and you flip houses, right?
Yeah. That's where it's
fix and flip. Was it?
All of it. Wholesale, fix and flip, long-term rentals and short-term rentals. That's really where that's the four pillars we call it that we live in. And that's what we do. And so we like I said, we started back in 2007. We bought our first rental in 2003, and then we started flipping in 2007. We've done about 1,100 deals since then between wholesales, renovations, all that. We still do about 100 deals a year, but we live on the beach in Florida. We're blessed to do that. A little over 2 years ago, we moved here, and our primary market is upstate New York, up in the Albany, New York market area. and I have an office. We have an office and a staff that work up there. Amber's pretty removed from that business. You really are in the owner's seat. I'm in the CEO, hop on a meeting once a week and then raise money when they have to raise money from private investors. I was doing that this morning. So that's kind of my job now in the company.
Where do you live in Florida?
We are in St. Pete. Okay. So not too far from Tampa. We're just on the beach side of Tampa.
Wonderful. Yeah, we just did our annual live event in Clearwater Beach. So
you're right up the road. Yeah, right up the road. So we started that. We started on top of that, Jack. We got a big rental portfolio. I say big. We have a good sized rental portfolio, 50 doors. For us, it's good. We don't have any syndication. We own them all. So it's like it's not. I'm not saying I own a piece of it and it's a piece of it. We own them all. So and then we have. We started a company called Investor Pro. Actually, this weekend, it'll be 7 years ago that we started that. And that was to teach people how to do what we do. Because people would always ask us, hey, I want to flip a house. Oh, I watch it on TV. I'd love to flip a house. I'd love to do that. And you're like, well, we helped as many people as we could in the beginning. And then we're like, we should make this organized because it's just better. It's more effective. So now we used to go to do the hotel thing. And now we are all virtual because COVID happened. We moved to Florida. I have a virtual office down the road I go to about every 4 or 5 weeks. We put on what's called the home flipping workshop, and we go through 3 days of intense training on how to do what we do. And then some people decide to work with us long term. And if they do, then we partner up with them and get deals done. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. So that's where I spend most of my days now is on Investor Pro.
Okay, very cool. So the business you mentioned earlier, you said like, oh, you're mostly in the buyer and in the owner seat for you, Amber, and for you, Glenn, you're in the CEO seat, but the business is 1,000 miles away up north. Yeah. So let's talk about that because that is like everyone's dream come true. Right? Yeah. That's like, to be honest, I'm not in that seat yet either. Like we have a land flipping business that works pretty much remote. That is true. We also have a coaching company, and in the coaching company, I'm pretty much still working quite a bit on the way to get into the owner seat. Just hired a COO. Now I'm the CEO, and Michelle just stepped out of the business. She used to be the CEO of that business. I used to be the COO. Now she stepped into the owner seat. I'm the CEO, and I'm on the way kind of like more and more out of the day to day. And but running a house flipping business with all the construction, with all the pieces on it, remotely in upstate New York from Florida, that requires a little bit of organization skills, doesn't it?
It requires good people.
Yeah,
and the right people.
And you know, we were an open book, and I'll tell you, last year, so whenever people listen to this, so the year 2022, we ended that year at a loss. And I had my business coach, Gary Harper. You probably know Gary. Yeah. And Gary was my business coach, and Gary was here at our table. We had both of our leadership teams from both companies here. And I'll never forget being on our counter, and he said, "You should shut it down. You should shut down the flipping business." And I tell you, Jack, I could not. I thought about it at great detail. I couldn't wrap my head around shutting down something that got us where we are. And I also love that we teach what we do. Right. I like the integrity piece. Like we're still active. Yeah. So I liked that a lot. So we made a decision not to do that. Now I had to lay off half the staff last year. One day I laid off like 9 people, 10 people, whatever it was. Which
was not fun.
No, I'm a big Loom video guy. I do Loom videos, and when you're remote, when you're running a business remotely, if I tell one person that they're going to be laid off, they're going to tell everybody else before I get a chance to. So I think it was 10 video. I think I made videos for everyone in the company. So maybe it was 16 people, whatever it was. I made videos for everybody. They're all very well thought out. I did them all. And at 9:00 at night, I hit send, and they all went. So that way there was nothing. So
they were very well done. It's not like getting broken up over text. I mean,
I'll let them know why.
It was very, very.
I said we had losses. So I share all that to say, because of that, the right people showed their heads. And I started to watch and see who would do what and who would sort of take over ownership. And this woman, Meg Ryan, who is our
rock star.
She's our rock star. She's our director now of everything. She sort of picked up and started doing everything, including saying, "Hey, can I watch the checkbook?" I'm like, "Sure." She goes, "I want to see what money's coming. We're wiring money from investors. We're doing this. We're doing that. I got to see what's going on." I'm like, "Yeah." And Meg's been with me for about 6 years. So she starts doing all this stuff. And lo and
Meg
behold,
Ryan, like the actors. You
yes,
hired the
yeah,
actors?
same name. Yep, same name. And she lo and behold, one day about 2 months ago, I called maybe 3 months ago. I said, Meg, we're going to make you the director of operations. And she said, so what would I do different? So I started telling her all the stuff she do. She goes, so pretty much what I've been doing. I said, exactly. So now, because we have the right people, we have a great marketing director up there. We have a project manager who's been doing projects for over 8 years with us. We've got people on the staff that have been there Helen's been there for 9 years, something like that. Without them, I'm not doing that, Jack. And honestly, if they ever decide to quit and walk away, I don't know that I keep it going. I probably wouldn't. But
essentially, what you're saying is, first of all, I still got to get over you firing 9 people over Loom videos. That's like unheard of. That's we'll talk about that.
And
perhaps
it went really well, by the way.
Everybody was good with it. Like
Yes.
everybody was totally understanding. Like they're like, I get it. You're making the right call.
I'm happy to share that technique with you. I like it. So
because the number one thing I dread is letting somebody go. I mean, I drag people along for 6 weeks extra or 8 weeks extra because I just can't.
Yeah.
I just try until Monday is like, okay, let's just like boom, call, and let's get it done. And
Jack, let me
they're relieved because they know that's happening. They know it's coming. Nobody's ever surprised by that anyway. But now we have a team of leaders, and they get to do that, and I don't get to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But
Jack, let me tell you this, Jack, on that, just real quick, a little tip on the Loom. One thing I say to them is I've got news I'm going to give you today, and I'm saying it to you because I want to have you have time to respond. I want you to have time to process, because if you heard this live, you might say things that you didn't meet that you don't want to say, and me too. And so that's why I say, so I think it's better if you have time to process. Let's schedule a time to talk later if you'd like to. And that's how I say it. And everybody's like, okay. Because if you hear it initially, you might go, screw you. You're the worst, but if you have time, that's how I preface it, just so you know. But anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That makes sense, and that I guess there's a way to do this in an elegant form. And then, how many of them wanted to talk afterwards?
I think all of them.
I got a lot of texts back saying, "Hey, I got it. I understand." Because I was I was emotional, and some of them I said, "I'm really sorry. This is not news I want to give you," but I said, "Here's why. Here's what," and I really appreciate your time with us and whatever. So I wasn't like, it's Glenn, you're fired. Click. I wasn't like that. I was I set the stage. I told him why I was doing it over Loom. I also told him that because there's going to be several of you happening at the same time, that I don't want this to spread. And I want you to hear it like the game telephone. So I want to do it this way. So one or two I talked to, because one was a COO. So he was a COO that went, and another high-end person went. So they wanted to talk, but not only to say, hey, don't feel bad. I got it. I understand. We're good. We lost money last year. It was a big chunk for you guys to lose. Now, fast forward, this year, we're profitable. Like we took about 6 months to get back profitable because it was a big loss. But now we're looking like we're going to end the year in a strong number, and not 7 figures, but definitely in the 6 figures, which is being remote and have a 6-figure profitable business, which I think we're on track for 6 or 7 next year, is where you want to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about why you lost money in just a second, because you're not the only ones. I mean, I was recently on Ryan Pineda's podcast, and he basically said in the podcast, hey, last year I lost something like $2 million on fix and flips, because in the moment when everything when interest rates went up like that and prices in certain markets went down for a while, especially fix and flippers were caught with their pants down in a way, or caught in a cycle where people would stop buying for a while, or would take longer to buy, and prices at the same time, the longer you hold the property, less the property's worth, and your numbers just don't pan out as they were planned to pan out. And but now the market is stable again in most markets, and it's coming back up, and so it makes total sense. That the good part is, if you lost money, you had some reserves, you could stand it. A lot of people went out of business during that time.
I wish I could blame it on the market, but I can tell you the market in New York where we are is very stable. It always has been. With us, it was bad people, not bad people, the wrong people, and too many of them.
Yes.
That's what it was. We got really thick and heavy on personnel, and we should have just found the good, like what we've done now. Now we found the good ones, and we invest in them, and we really trimmed it down and leaned down. So I really can't blame that in the market. We didn't have that problem on the market because it just doesn't happen. I can see Vegas happening, but not where we are. Was really all, and I learned some valuable lessons, Jack. I learned all about because it was during a time when everybody in CG and the groups we're part of were all like, oh, we're killing it. We're killing it. I sit in the rooms and go, I'm being killed. I'm not killing it. And I was like, man, oh man. So I kept staying the course, and I realized that if you don't have the right people, you've got nothing.
Right.
I don't care how good you are at flipping land or flipping houses or educating people or whatever. We could be the best at it. If we're going to try and scale, we will not do it alone.
Right.
We
People
will not.
make all the difference in the world.
Oh.
And they're hard to find.
Yeah.
The right person's hard to find.
And get rid of, slow to hire, fast to fire.
In the world, yeah.
So essentially, and that's the last part I want to go into, the people part. Essentially, the people that you now found are in a way intrapreneurs, right? You know,
Yes.
Like not entrepreneurs, but intrapreneurs. They like your operations manager knows exactly what to do to set up her own business.
Yes and no, Meg. So there are people, what I've learned in years of doing this is there are people that they love to be number two. They love it.
Right,
like
exactly,
they don't want to be number one, right? There's people that and it took me, I'll bet you this didn't click in until a few years ago. Like in my thick skull, my 54-year-old head, I don't think it knocked into my head until somebody said, like, I have a good friend of mine that runs a big company here and $50 million company. He said, I love being number two. I have no desire to be number one. And I thought, how can that be? But now I would never be number two. I'm always going to be number one. That's me. But that's a whole different level of stress. That's a whole different level of everything. And it's
a different personality type.
And my skill is not running companies. My skill is starting them. It's being a visionary, and it's being an innovator. It's thinking. That is my skill set. And once I gave myself permission to do that, now I can find other people to do the other parts. Now doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to find them, and you're going to kiss a lot of frogs, they say, right? But
well, and honestly too, Jack, and this is probably a very, very important point. When Glenn got out of the way and let those people shine,
God, that
was a game changer too, because he is that visionary. Like he can cause so much chaos when he's in the middle of everything.
My God.
So it wasn't just finding the right people, but it was stepping out of the way and letting them go once they had vision.
Let me tell the story, Jack. Two months ago, I flew back to New York. The team had a networking event, which I used to always run those. Now I go back and I was at the event, but they set the whole thing up. I just flew in for it. And everybody did their thing. And the next day I sat in the office while they were working. And I quickly realized I was in the way. It was an odd feeling. I was looking around at the office that I built. Amber and I built from the ground up, and we own it. And I'm watching people. They're like, oh, Glenn, they're being nice to me. But I'm realizing you're being nice, but you want me to get the hell out of here. and it was a good, but weird, but sad, but happy. It was a lot of weird emotions going on. Like they don't need me. Now they do, but they didn't need me anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, I remember flying home thinking, I don't know what you're upset about, man. This is what you've been talking about. You've brought people up that can do this without you, and they're being profitable. And the more that you're in the way, the more you gum up the work. So just get out of the way, Schworm. And I did. And now I just tell them, I say, you guys, do your thing. I mean, whatever you need me for, let me know.
That's what we're in the process of doing right now with our coaching company is getting the right people in place. We've got some good ones, and we just brought on a new good one today.
Started today. Yeah.
So we're getting in that process so that he can get out of the weeds there and really do the things that he's best at.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the opportunity many years ago, something like 15 years ago, to go to a charity event in LA hosted by Sir Richard Branson. And everyone was around him. And actually just somebody gave me a ticket. So that's how I got to. So and it's like, okay, well, I go there for them. Sure. And it was a lot of fun. And so everyone was waiting, Richard Branson. And finally he comes in and he's like bodyguards and everyone swarms him. And I do get a chance to quickly shake his hands and ask him like one question. And it's like, Sir Branson, you haven't just started one company. You started like 100 companies. How in the world do you even do that? Yeah. And he just had one answer for me. And then he kept walking. This was like, go find the best people in the world and get out of the effing way.
Yeah.
That's
I'm telling you, it's the first time it happened to me, Jack. It was the first time where I realized that I was in the way. It was
I did not understand it back then. I was like, Okay, well, that's easy for you to say, right? That's why I thought it's
Right.
easy for you to say. You got $1 billion here to go hire the best people in the world and give them $1 billion, give them like a $50 million budget, and so on. Like, well, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
But the reality is, you can do that at any level.
Right.
You can.
We decide, like, Michelle is for 10 years she's been going to a coaching program called Strategic Coach, and she just came back from that last week, and she's like with a little an analyzer tool, because they all talk about having a company that's self-managing. And really what you guys created is a self-managing company up there. You still help with the fundraising, but I bet you can probably find somebody for that too, that raises the funds for you. But so in essence, you guys have created a self-managing company, which, by the way, is very rare. Most people don't do that. So big round of applause for that.
Yeah, thank you.
The thing is, we looked at our companies and we looked at different parts of it. And for example, we have a software, like a land CRM software called Investment Dominator. And we looked at that software and it was like, that software is a 100% self-managing company, part of our company, because the guy that created it, Alex, has been with us for 17 years. I don't even get into a meeting on that software more than twice a year. Mm-hmm. Yet it builds, it's stable, it has thousands of users, it's up there, it's running. So at the end of the day, what makes the difference? It's the people. 100% right.
It is. It's 100% people. Yeah, I think when you can figure that out, the guy we hired today, we hired a new marketing director for Vestor Pro for our coaching business. And because marketing is a very expensive part of coaching, right? Yeah, I do love to help people if they only understood how expensive it is to find them. That's the hard thing. People don't get that part, I want to help you. The reason we have to charge is because you're expensive to go find you. So we hired a marketing director. Now we interviewed for probably 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And once we found him, we went through many people. Once we got him, he went through, I think, 6 interviews before we hired him. And that included group interviews, include my leadership team, the recruiting company, me and one-on-one. So HR. Yeah. And then Amber watched, she reviewed the recordings and gave her 2 cents. And I told him, I said, person gets this job you're going to have achieved something just getting through this part. Cause I'm not looking to do this a lot. I'll invest my time now, because if you invest your time now, instead of just slapping, and don't put somebody in just to put them in, right? Hey, here's somebody in my company that I don't want to get rid of them, so I'll slap them in. Because if you slap somebody into a role and they're not really the best fit for it, you're just going to pay. You're just going to pay.
And one thing I think is interesting too about just the dynamic changes of the world is used to, you could only really look for people in your area.
Yeah,
and now with, so many people working virtually and Zoom and different ways we can hold meetings and collaborate and everything, that opens up the whole world for people to be on your team. So finding quality people isn't nearly as limited as it used to be.
Our bookkeeping team's in India.
Yeah.
We have a meeting with her after this. She's in India. I laugh. She's great. She's been with us for 4 years. She's awesome. I'm like, here you are in India. Here I am in Florida.
She invited us to her wedding.
She did. I know.
You should go.
I know. She already had it, but we weren't able to go because our son was getting married. But yeah, we said we should go do that. So
yeah, you should go if you have. That's on my bucket list. If anyone watching that wants to invite me to India to an Indian wedding, I'm coming, guys. I'm coming. That's one of my bucket list. Be part of one of these 3-day weddings. Great. Let's talk some real estate, guys. So, how you're flipping these houses up there? What do you guys do? How do you get the deals? What typically you look for? What's your business model in detail?
I don't know. Let me get team on. They can tell you. I'm just kidding. No, I can tell you what we do. So
let's pass it on to the person that knows then, right?
Yeah, right.
No, generally speaking, we do a fair amount of marketing. We've been on TV for 10 years up there with ads and whatnot. And we have a good network. Our office is a big sign out front. And then direct mail. We do direct mail is a big one. We do some, I think they do PPC and that. I'm going to speak out of turn a little bit with the marketing department, but they do some of that. Google. I don't think PPC works as well as Google, but that's really what they do. And then, it goes, yeah. And we're looking for those off market motivated sellers that want to sell below lists. They don't want to mess around with it. And then we,
some AI generated list as well.
Yeah. We do some AI stuff. And then, then we'll decide what we want to do with them after that. So we might just buy them and sell them as is. We might do a JV. Some people call it an novation. Now we've called it a joint venture for years, where we partner with the seller and then sell it maybe as is, maybe I don't know.
Some
Maybe we
landowners,
do
but
some minor repairs or fix it up, but we'll partner with them.
mostly
So we never
focus
own
on
it.
like first time home buyer type houses.
That's for the end.
Bedrooms.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into what do you mean by explain novation for a second?
So what novation is that the term novation means that you put a house under contract to purchase, and then you find another buyer for more money, and then you novate or cancel the first contract to take over the second contract. That's the legal term. What we call it is JV. It's a joint venture. So someone
What's
has a
the
house.
difference between novation and an assignment?
So a novation, the person can bring a loan to buy the end product.
Okay.
Where an assignment has to be a cash purchaser.
Okay.
That's really how I determine the difference.
So you have a contract with the seller, and then you market the property, you find a buyer, you have a contract with the buyer, and a novation allows you to cancel this one and kind of like enforce that one that
right.
Like make those two guys buy. But because it's called novation, there's some additional paperwork involved. They can actually come with a bank loan and buy.
We don't do them that way. So that's not that's the big rage right now. That's not how we do them, and because we find it very difficult to do those in New York because it's a attorney state, not a title state. And so because as attorneys, anytime you get multiple attorneys on a deal, it's a pain in the ass. So we find that novations are very difficult. So we do a lot of assignments, but novations, we call it a joint venture where literally if you have a house for sale, Jack, and let's say that you want $100,000 and we say, okay, we'll give you $100,000, but I'm going to give it to you in 3 months after I fix up the house and sell it. And you keep the house in your name. So I pretty much, you give me access to the home and I take over control of the home, minimal control, but we do that through a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney. Mm-hmm. And I handle everything from that day forward. I handle everything from the renovation to the power to the whatever. You maybe pay the taxes, maybe you pay your mortgage payment. What we can negotiate all of that. But then at the closing table, the cool part is we never actually had ownership of the property. So at the closing table, you get your $100,000, I'll probably get 180 or 200,000 at the table. Now, and you're not even at the table because we're POA, we can sign for you. Right. So you're not even show up to the table. It just gets wired to you. And that's a simplified version of what it is. So the cool part is
pretty brilliant because in that way, you basically get to do a fix and flip without having to raise money.
Correct. You have to raise money for the actual renovation part, but that's minimal compared to the house. But but minimal. You can use credit cards for that or whatever. And the cool part is if you have an FHA buyer on the end that shows up, most of the time they have to have 91 days of ownership. Then, if I took over the house, I have to have 91 days of ownership before I can even start the contract. So I'm 5 months before I can sell a house that I buy to an FHA buyer, where in this case, I never owned it. So I can sell it immediately. And they don't even know that it's a flipped house, which saves some more headache. People aren't thinking, oh, it's a flipped house. I better, they don't even know about that. They're like, oh, it's a house that Mary and Joe have owned for 30 years. Great. They had it renovated. It looks beautiful. They don't give us a hard time for being the flipping company, just some other little perks on it. But we don't find those every day. But whenever we do, we did one, our third house, we did it by accident because I didn't have any money. And I said to the guy, we can give you 50,000 in cash, or I can give you 60,000 and I'll give it to you in 6 months after we partner on this deal. And he goes, I'll take the 60. And I'm thinking, thank God, because I didn't have the 50. I just made an offer. We got in the car. I went, shoo, that was good. So
there's certain scenarios where that works and some certain scenarios where it doesn't. If somebody's living in the house, that's more of a challenge. That was an inherited house. Right. So they
have to move out.
They didn't mind holding on.
And if they're just in that close to foreclosure, it doesn't necessarily work. And
you'd have to bring it. Yeah, you have to bring that house current if that was the case. Yeah, there'd be some money invested in that. And sometimes, again, everything's negotiable. I can give you $5,000 to move out of the house, get you your own place, sign the document. If the person seems a little shady and shifty, then no, you don't want to do that deal because they could, in theory, not. They could fight, and you do have limited power of attorney, so you do have the ability to sell the house, but they can always make a legal stink because they do own the title. They still own the title. So
now you have a nicely remodeled house, and they're like, "Oh,
right, yeah,
There's definitely some risk factors. Makes sense. We when we in the land space, we do similar kind of things when we help people through probate, because basically we can't buy the property until probate is done. Right. And if we pay for probate, which is the reason why they're giving it to us cheap in the first place, it puts it in their name. So there's a little bit of a risk that after we pay for probate, it ends up in their name that they don't want to sell it anymore.
Yeah.
There's some strategy around how to avoid that, and it has to do with also power of attorneys and things like that, and getting deeds ahead of time and so on. But it's a similar kind of situation that you're like, yeah, there's a little risk, so let's make sure we protect ourselves from that. So you guys lost money because you had the wrong people. You made the right adjustments. Now this year you're profitable, which is great. And then so now what's next year looking up? Are you looking to grow? Are you looking to just maintain? Are you looking to scale up?
Funny you mentioned that. So today, while we're sitting, we're a lot of things happening today. Today we have the new marketing director in the other company, and then also today, my team is looking at a house in Tampa, which is rare because we don't look at houses down here.
We don't market here.
We don't market here at all. And we had a lead from up in the area say, hey, my mom's in Tampa losing her house to foreclosure. Do you want to take a look at it? And my Meg said, Tampa? She said, Glenn, how far is Tampa? I said, 40 minutes. She goes, you want to look at a house? I said yes. And then Jack, I said, yesterday I called her and said, actually, I don't want to look at a house. Who do you know? And one of the guys on our coaching team is down here. He's an active investor. He said, I'd love to go look at it for you guys. So we're starting to, I think that what we'd like to think is we can open up at least one more location where our team in New York does all the appointment setting, negotiations, that kind of stuff. And we have a small team on the ground here that can go look at houses and whatnot. Only because we live here, because I'd like to be able to start picking up more rentals when the interest rates simmer down a little bit. And that's the goal for that. And the coaching business is definitely to grow and to stabilize and to get me out of I don't mind being the talent. I don't mind being the speaker. I enjoy that, actually, being the speaker, the talent, the educator. I don't mind that. When you're doing that,
the fulfillment of changing people's lives.
Yeah. When you're running the day-to-day business and doing that, it's challenging. It's challenging. So I'd like to not have the extra stress of running the company. And that's why we're hiring good people on now. So again, trying to find that journey. It's our first date today. He's starting today, and I'm thinking, well, let's see how we do. And, I'll know we've kind of in our mind said, let's give them, 60, 90 days and let's make a decision. If things don't look right, let's move on fast and let's keep going. But so far, so good. So,
yeah, I hope he doesn't watch the podcast.
No, he knows. I told him. I said
fully transparent.
Yeah, I sent him a video. I said, here's the problems of the company. Here's the good things. Here's where we are. And this before he joined us, I said, there's some areas of our company that are a bit of a shit show and some are not. I said, but you're dealing with the shit show part that got really expensive in marketing. And here's what we want you to fix. And I said, now you're either going to not show up to your first day or you're going to run, or you're going to say it's a challenge and I'm ready. And he didn't respond back for 2 days. I'm like, well, better now than later. And he wrote back and said, I'm in. So, okay. He said, he goes, I love the video. He goes, what a great way to, he goes, now I can see what you want and your vision and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. Very good. I need to do some more looms. That is something I think could be very beneficial too. Because I like the fact that in the looms, if you think it out, if you spend a little quiet time and you just like think it out well, it can be a really good guideline instead of just like what I sometimes do, just ramble on. We had a meeting this morning, and after a while I was like, guys, am I just rambling? And they're like, they wanted to be like polite. They're like, you could say nobody said no. So I was like, okay, well then let me rephrase this and summarize it and say, here's what I'm saying. And they're like, yeah, okay, we got you. It's like, okay, good. So
Jack, what's funny?
It forces you to be a little bit more concise.
It does.
From the get.
Loom is, I'm happy to give you any pointers if you want to give me a call. I have, because it's things that have worked for me, but Loom has an AI feature now. So I've left the message for somebody and it's been a 10-minute video or 15-minute video where I'm going over different facts and stuff. AI will reduce that to a paragraph. I look back and go, well, shit, that was a lot easier. I should have just said that. It's very funny how it takes your whole thing. I'm like, oh, but I think I like it because it doesn't have
the clip notes of the video.
Yeah. I think I like because in a text or an email, your tone is lost. Yeah. Somebody could be having a bad day and they read it, especially guys like us, and I'm also from New York. I'm very sarcastic and I can joke. And if you read that the wrong way, you might be offended, where if you see me and I'm laughing or I'm smiling at you, you're like, okay, I know what he means now. Yeah. So that's what I find. That's just me. That's a culture of our company. We have and I'll say that too. Our cultures now are unbelievable. We are culture captains. We make sure that we live by our core values and our culture, and we celebrate our culture. And if anybody's bad in the culture, they're gone. Yep. Period. Because that's the only way to have businesses that run without your daily involvement, is if everybody else loves being there. If they don't love being there, forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. So then tell me a little bit about your coaching company. What do you guys do? I mean, obviously you teach house flipping there, but tell me a little bit more. What do you guys, how does that look like typically?
Yeah. You go ahead, pretty go. So we started it first off, we're not like all these, I call them gurus nowadays, right? There's gurus out there. There's a billion people that know what they're doing. You probably face it too, right? Someone does one deal on land. Now all of a sudden they're the professional. You're thinking, really? So, but anyways, in social media, you can be whoever you want to be. So we didn't start our coaching business till we had done 400 flips. After that, we decided to help other people do it. We knew early on we wanted to, but we said, let's prove the model first. So we take people through a journey. One of the biggest things we do, I think, that people always rave about, we've got like 16 or 1,700 five-star reviews online with our home flipping workshop. It's because we work on their mindset too. So our tagline is a real estate of mind. And because we know that if your head's not right, you'll never get through the deal. You'll never even do the first deal, right? So we want to work with you on that. So we give you all the mechanics, how to find, fund, fix, flip, hold, all that. We go through all the details of it. We like to help people kind of flip those first 2 houses in their first year. Make $100,000. Flip a house, make 50. Flip another house, make 50. Let's make that the target. We have full-on coaches, experienced coaches to help people and everything and all that.
But
so
flipping is just a good introduction to real estate investing because there are so many different avenues you can go from there, whether it's wholesaling or rentals or short-term rentals or land or, like
multi or whatever.
But flipping helps people. I mean, that's why we started, because Glenn was always more interested in rentals. And I liked the sexiness of flipping, taking something ugly and turning it into something beautiful. And we went to a little workshop years ago. And it was a lady named Robin Thompson, the queen of rehab is what she called herself. And
she's still around, to my understanding. She's still around.
I think every once in a while I see her. And she's not very big online, but I see her. Yeah, no. She's an OG.
But that was 17 years ago, something like that, 16, 17 years ago. And we needed money at the time. We were $80,000 in credit card debt. And like those big pops of money were just really, really interesting to us. So we started flipping houses. And I think that's where a lot of people are these days, is they want that influx of cash. But then once you start establishing that, you can invest that into other areas and make even more money with it. So I think it's just a good way for people to start in real estate. And it's still a good exit strategy in a lot of cases. That's why we're still doing it many years later. Yeah. So it's really good for cash flow, but it opens the door for a lot more opportunities in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. I say that to our students. I say the same thing, that it's like, guys, get started with something, because you don't know if you're going to stay there forever. Now we have people that flip land and that stay there forever, because that's all they perfect the cookie cutter model and they just keep going like that. But many of them end up, I can think of two that actually live in the Clearwater and in the Tampa area, that have done something like $600,000 in profits in the first year, and now they build custom homes, or they build townhomes in Tampa. Sure. Not custom homes, but like townhomes. I think they get the land and they build it on there. So they use their land knowledge to now become developers in a way, and home builders. And that's totally fine, because the first thing you got to do as a beginning investor is understand your terminology, get the mindset right? Get those first few deals, no matter what it is, get them under the belt, because there's huge confidence builders, and then build that capability that allows you to go a step on the market and say like, well, that is a good deal and that is not a good deal. And then from there, you take it whichever way you want. And some people stick with that and just never deviate. And some people go build empires of commercial, multifamily, industrial, whatever it is, and they just go take that a completely different path. And some people just make a few $100,000 and say like, hey, it's all I needed. I'm good. And keep their job that they perhaps love, but now they're doing a deal or two a year and making the extra $50,000-$100,000 to just supplement their income while they do what they love, right? Sometimes it's the paths. And even when people say like, why aren't you creating a lot of competition? It's like, no, because again, not everyone sticks to it, and then there's always people dropping back off after accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish or changing their career paths, and there's new people coming into the business.
Sometimes it's just a means to an end. We watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, and before he was an actor, he got into real estate, and he multifamily. He made so much money in real estate. He said he was able to turn down roles that he didn't want. He was waiting for the big roles, but real estate allowed him the freedom to do that. Because I
don't know if many people don't watch. I love Warren Buffett. I read almost everything about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they got their start capital, their own start capital, by actually developing a small subdivision in LA.
Oh, really?
In the 1950s, they built something like 10 or 12 houses, had a little trouble selling the last few ones, had to call in some favors with some other people and that. But ultimately, they made $2 million in the 50s.
Yeah,
That's
wow.
like the equivalent of like $40 million today or something like that. That's their start capital 70 years ago. They're now 93 and 99 years old. So basically, they were in their 20s, 30s, and in their late 20s when they basically made the equivalent of today's money, $30-40 million. And with that, they became billionaires. So people always think like, oh, I got to have a fund. I got to think. No, real estate is a fantastic way to get that seed money for something, to get that start capital, to provide that safety net for really anything that happens in life. So with that said, how can people find you online?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Probably the best way is to go to glennandamber.com. That's got links to our workshop and our book and our show. We have a show on somewhere on YouTube and somewhere on TV. Yeah. But just all the good stuff.
Home flipping workshop too. We can go to that one. Yeah, you can go check out our workshop if you want to at the homeflippingworkshop.com. Just kind of see what that's all about. And I'll tell your listeners too, anybody who's not done anything and you're listening and you're kind of, always gathering information. I tell my kids this all the time. I say, listen, guys, before you can be great at anything, you first have to be good. Before you can be good, you got to be bad. Before you can be bad, you got to start. So you just got to start. So you're going to suck a little bit at first. Even if you have a great coach like Jack or a great coach like us for whatever you're doing, you're going to suck a little bit. It's going to be sucky. You're going to scare. Your mindset's going to suck. A lot of stuff.
Push through your comfort zone, push through that fear.
But you'll never be great if you don't start. Yep. You'll never be anything if you don't start. So I just encourage you to start. So.
That's right. So with that said, that's a perfect ending of our podcast. With that said, guys, check out those links. We're going to put them into the show notes, of course. And with that said, thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Amber. With that, we'll conclude our podcast for today. As always, guys, give us a 5-star review. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us the thumbs up. Follow our channel. And with that, that's a wrap. Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.